and welcome back to another episode of Mythology Monday. Today we are going to be talking about the next sorcerer line in the world of Touring, which is the Line of Tiere. Now, if you can't guess by their lovely line mark being a fox head, the Line of Tiere is the line in my world that deals with animals. Now, the founder of this specific line was the monsters of Greek mythology. Now, by the monsters, I don't mean specifically like Cerberus or the Hydra or that. I'm referring in this instance to the creatures or monsters of all of mythology who are actually half human and half monster. So think, or half animal as well. So think of things like the Minotaur or a satyr or a centaur, you know, half animal, half horse. These are the guys that have founded the Tiere line. So how it worked is when these monsters or creatures went on to have children, some of them ended up looking entirely monsterish and some of them ended up looking entirely human, but while retaining some of the magical powers and properties of their monster parents or grandparents, depending on how far down the lineage we are. So these are the sorcerers and sorceresses that came to Taurian and became the Tiere line. So what exactly does that mean when it comes to their powers? Well, I'll tell you in 1 minute. First of all, I'm going to remind you that their line mark, so the tattoo that goes on their neck to identify them, is this pretty fox head. The line color is a dark green color, you know, because they hide in nature and things like that. And so the powers that you will find in this line typically have to do with animal traits. So think things like they can see in the dark, they have exceptional hearing, they have really good senses of smell, they can run really fast. Some of them even, the most powerful of the Tiere line, can turn into animals. Now, because they have this innate ability to turn into animals, many of the parents of the Tiere line will actually name their children after an animal. So you see a lot of children in the line name things like fox or lynx or hawk or robin, things like that, that will then hopefully their parents are naming them this in order to hopefully have their child become powerful enough that they can turn into that animal in the future. You won't see a lot of children named after really ferocious monsters or creatures like Hydra or dragon or Cerberus, because these are animals that are incredibly hard to control if you have the ability to shift. So they don't want to turn them into something that is notoriously difficult to manage, and so they tend to stick with animal names that have been seen or proven throughout the lines to work really well for people. But not every Tiere person has a Tiere name, because sometimes it ends up being your second power, or you get it without meaning to, and they had no way of knowing that that was going to be their power, because again, you can't confirm a sorcerer's power until they come of age when they're like 17 or 18 years old. And because of that, some of them have normal lines. But as personality-wise and in general, the Tiere line tends to follow a lot of traits of animals. They tend to be big about family. They tend to have larger families. Most sorcerers only can be bothered to have one child in order to help put the energy in to raise that child, whereas the Tiere line are the ones that are known for having 2 or 3 children typically, and so are one of the more prolific lines simply because they're willing to have more than one child. They like their children, they are big with their family, they have a lot of bonds with their family and friends and things like that. They get along really well with the Celtic sorcerers. These are the sorcerers who actually have the ability to control nature and plants and things like that. Clearly, if you're an animal type sorcerer, you want to be able to be friends with the people who control the trees and the grass and things like that. They also tend to get along with the Meere sorcerers quite well. These are the ones who control the earth, simply because animals are so close to the ground. Animals have so much to do with nature and with the earth, and that they all tend to get along very well for that exact reason. So one of the biggest traits that other Tiere animals or people have is that they usually are able to communicate with at least one kind of animal. If they're incredibly powerful or they're a titan, they can usually communicate with many, if not most. Titans are the strongest and are able to communicate with the most animals in general. Otherwise, some people, it either comes down to a group of animals, like they can communicate with mammals, but they can't communicate with birds, or they can communicate with insects, but not amphibians, that kind of thing. But the Tiere line is a lot of fun simply because they come with really weird and quirky personalities, and they have really weird and quirky powers. But it's a lot of fun to see sorcerers who can do fun things with animals, and especially for the most powerful ones, that they have that ability to shift. It makes them unique and a lot of fun to have around. So thanks for sticking around and learning about the Line of Tiere, and next week we are going to talk about the Line of Celtics. So I hope you have a magical Monday, and bye for now.